So after it being a point of discussion for, frankly, I think it's a few years now, the NFL has indeed finally decided to roll with it, at least for the 2015 season. There's big changes coming to the extra point. Oh boy. Now the ball is going to be snapped from, I think it's the 15-yard line. So now we're talking about, it just going from being a chip shot to being a field goal that you actually have to kind of take seriously, even though it's only going to be worth 1 point. They've also made the change, too, that a 2-point conversion, the defense can now actually return the ball back for 2 points of their own, just like college has done for an eternity. How about that? They've caught up with the times, at least on that standpoint. And I get, to a certain degree, why the NFL would want to change the rules when it comes to the extra point. I think it's too much of a formality, too much of a given thing, that it's kind of, frankly, a waste of time. If teams are successful on the extra point 99.99% of the time, it's just not a very interesting play. It's pretty much something you just take for granted, and they feel that it's something that can be improved upon. It's something that could, be changed and change the game for the better. I understand that. But my whole thing is that this rule change is just stupid. It really is. Of all the things the NFL can be focused on, of all the things the NFL can be worried about, this is the thing that seems to be the most pressing issue. And this is the thing that we ultimately affect change on. Now, let me get this straight. We've got a whole scandal that we're still talking about with Deflategate that deals with the integrity of the game and how the game balls are treated by quarterbacks and by teams before the game. And we still haven't put in a new procedure to ensure that there are no more slip-ups, mistakes, or screw-ups going forward, at least to the best of my knowledge at this point in time. While everybody assumes it's a foregone conclusion and we know that it's coming, we haven't put that rule change in yet, but we changed the rule for the extra point. The priorities seem to be a bit askew here. When we're talking about things like people talking about how the playoffs are and the fact that they think it's stupid that an 8-win team can win its division and get into the playoffs, and not only get into the playoffs, but get a home game because they won their division, where a 10 or 11 team win team gets left out. We thought the extra point was a more important thing to focus on. Instead of focusing on what was a major issue in the playoffs of 2014, namely what is clearly defined as a catch or not, especially when you go back to the divisional round game in the NFC between the Packers and the Cowboys, instead of addressing that and eliminating any ambiguity and making sure that one way or another is clearly defined what is a catch, what is not, there is no more gray area, we've decided to change the rule for the extra point because that was so much more of a pressing need. Instead of focusing on improving the quality and standard of play by fixing the way the games are officiated, because now when you watch an NFL game, instead of watching to see what happens with the play and being excited about the potential outcome or worried about the potential outcome, you're anxious about or worried about where the flag is because you feel like the flag is going to come, and now it's becoming the National Flag Football League because of all the freaking flags that seems like are being thrown. That's slowing down the game, clearly impacting the quality of play. We've decided to focus on changing the rule for the extra point. My whole thing is, I'm not sitting there and trying to say that the extra point isn't important to focus on or to change at some point in time. I just think the priorities are all screwed up. Who should really be upset about this are the kickers. Because now they go from having to kick a 19-yarder to having to kick a 30-plus yarder to get the extra point. These guys should be shouting from the rooftops. They should be demanding pay raises because now it's placed an increased importance on their skill at the NFL level. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of these kickers' contracts, especially going forward. They should be pining for and screaming for more money because they're getting paid off of one expectation of one job being done, and now they're being expected to do more for the same money. Well, in the real world, what would we be doing? We'd be bitching about wanting more money to do more. We would want a pay raise. But again, it just comes down to the whole stupidity of this all. The NFL, of all the things they could be focused on, of all the things they could be worried about, of all the things that they could be working to improve and working to fix, including their public image after the disaster that was 2014, where we're talking about domestic violence and we're talking about deflated footballs more than we are the actual games themselves, we've decided the biggest priority and the thing that we have to change is the extra point. This is one of these situations to me that you see a lot in corporate America, where you've got the people at the very top that are so far removed from reality, sitting there and making decisions that nobody understands and nobody fucking gets, except everybody else that's in that boardroom that's snarfing at themselves about how great this is. Oh, snuff, snuff, great idea. Snuff, snuff, that's outstanding. Snuff, snuff, this will do a whole lot of nothing. It'll be interesting to see if this rule change ends up being permanent, and I think it will be. It'll also be interesting to see the first time this cost a team a game because they have a kicker who has the shanks, who's already missed 3 field goals in the game. Now his team scores a touchdown when they're down 7 with 10 seconds to go. They just need that 32-yard extra point in order to tie the game and send it to overtime, and instead, he misses. Whoopee. You know, if the NFL wanted to make things that much more interesting and they really wanted to make things matter, then get rid of the extra point entirely. Just make it a touchdown and then a 2-point conversion. Would that be so wrong? Would that be so bad? Would that be so difficult? It's whatever. It's not going to sit there and really improve the quality of the game. You know, it just is more stupid shit that you would expect from the NFL nowadays, frankly.